¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Welcome to another edition of Must Love Wrestling in our new digs. We have not upgraded yet. We are going to be doing the free stream yard for now, and then we will eventually upgrade so we can get our background and everything and set up. But we will be using nothing from the previous show. We will be starting completely fresh. But before we get started, Tyler, why don't you tell us how your cruise was?
Oh, it was really fun. It was a couple days. Did a little gambling, watched a little comedy. Did some trivia.
Nice, nice.
Was
Did you
up
see any
up
stand-up
eight
comedians?
dollars. Yeah, there
Yeah,
was a stand-up guy on Sunday night. It's pretty funny.
yeah. Somebody
Yeah.
that we might be paying attention to in the future, or just a boat comedian?
I think he does a lot of local stuff in the New York area and also on ships. So
Nice,
his
nice.
name is Mick Thomas.
McThomas. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I,
It's
I
pretty funny.
remember I remember going to a stand-up comedy show for my junior prom. We all went to New York City and went to a stand-up comedy show, and the headliner was Dave Chappelle, and he wasn't
Oh well.
that big at the time, and now
Yeah.
obviously you all know who Dave Chappelle is now. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's exciting. I've never been on a cruise. Look forward to taking the kids on one in the future. But yeah.
Don't take him on. Don't take him on this one.
Oh, okay. Well, this
The
seems like an
Marguerite
adult themed cruise.
Margaritaville is not for kids.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, it
Yeah,
sounds like it was a good time.
it was,
Before
yeah,
we get
for sure.
started, I figured I would say a couple things here. This week I lost my grandmother. It was pretty uh different, and I don't necessarily deal with death the way most people do. For me, it's easier to just keep pushing. So I've chosen to dedicate myself to Arthur Jordan and the podcast just because it's been something that's helped me in the past. I've had issues in the past of hitting the bottle pretty hard, so I can't do that with children. So I have not touched any alcohol whatsoever. I've not done that in months just to be more present for my children and realizing that you lose someone and how quickly it can happen. I don't want to be that person to my children. I want to be here for them as often as they need and whenever they need them, whenever they need me. So, um, yeah, it's been a pretty big struggle. And before you ask, yes, I do believe the Chiefs are a dynasty. Yes, I do believe Taylor Swift will be celebrating tomorrow afternoon after she gets off her plane. But that doesn't mean that my hope and my prayers don't aren't rooting for my Niners. I'm rooting for them, but yeah, I believe in all of these pre-excuses that are happening away for the Niners, I guess, to use, like, oh well, the alarms went off. Oh well, the field didn't work. Like all of this stuff, I think it just screamed of the Philadelphia Eagles last year. So, but yeah,
Well,
I'm hoping the Niners win, but
I do have a little wager on the Niners with our mutual friend Kenny.
oh yeah, he picked the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's like, we go double or nothing on the because he owes me from the Packers Cowboys game.
Mm.
I said, yeah, sure, why not? He's like, the
Oh,
Chiefs
okay.
got Mahomes and Kelsey. I was like, yeah, but the Niners got this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I can
let's
name
see
them
what
all day.
happens. I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens and we'll see how it works out. But, this is a wrestling show. So why don't we jump into this jam
Is that what
packed?
we talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about this jam packed wrestling week. So, all reports are indicating, and they're conflicting reports, that The Rock is using his seat as the board to push Cody out of the main event of WrestleMania. There was a reporter that I trust that said that is not The Rock's case whatsoever. The Rock's intention behind the scenes is to actually make Cody bigger than 2014 Brian. That is what he wants.
Okay.
So they need to do that by clearly doing an old school trope, which is having a power struggle. It seems to be working really well. What do you think about WWE's intent on making Cody bigger than 2014 Brian?
All right. So I'm gonna start out and tell you what this podcast would have been before the press conference the other night. I was
Okay.
prepared to call. I was prepared to call The Rock out for, and this is only strictly wrestling based, being a bigger hypocrite than 1993 Hulk Hogan coming out and beating Yoko for the title at the end of the show, because
Okay.
he's been gone for years. Most people don't even remember him as the wrestler The Rock. They're like, "Oh, cool, the guy from Fast and Furious is on Raw."
Hmm.
Like, and Hogan was only gone for like a year and came back and did that, and people were furious. So I didn't see why this was any better.
Hmm.
Um, I was gonna call. I was really really angry. I got worked pretty hard here,
Yeah.
but that press conference on Thursday night was amazing.
100% was phenomenal.
It's one of the best things I've ever seen.
Hmm.
And we're gonna talk about him a little later in the show. I felt like Seth Rollins came out of it with a ton of main character energy too.
Hmm.
He was so entertaining. You can't just come in just because you're on the board and do whatever you want. I was like, yes, I can. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah, as far as that goes, I think I can see the idea around behind elevating Cody to that level,
Hmm.
because we sort of, and Cody's made his own. And Cody's his own man at this point. He's not just Dusty's son, but we
Hmm.
we do we relate to the sons of legends or the daughters of legends trying to carve their own path. That's the same reason Dale Earnhardt Jr. was so popular,
Hmm.
because people were fans of his father, and then even though the son's a different man, it takes a while for them to carve their own path, and Cody's done that.
Hmm.
Um, there were a lot of cool ways they could go with this story, because even if Rock had stayed in the picture, it could have been like, well, this is why I left to begin with, and I'm gonna fight against this, and I'm gonna win the title anyway.
Hmm.
It could have been his whole story.
Yeah.
Uh, I just love what they're doing right now. I've not been this invested in WWE in a long, long time.
Agreed, agreed. I have to say, after having a conversation with Pat the other day, we found out what Billy Body said was going to happen, and I loved the whole thing of it. And that was Cody going to wrestle Roman again and losing, and then finally beating him the following year to kind of follow in his dad's exact footsteps. But with The Rock invested in The Rock a part of it, now him losing to Roman makes way more sense. The original plan, I guess, in place was Rock versus Roman for the necklace, for the head of the table.
Mm.
And that means that the title would not have been defended at WrestleMania, which I feel like would have made a lot of fans happier. Like, okay, fine. Like, we get it. Rock versus Roman is the main event, but at least the title's not on the line. That would have put Cody in a precarious situation because he would have went and wrestled Seth Rollins. But with this, the way it's set up, I like it because Cody comes off as someone who is legit being screwed, and that's become a part of his story. If you look at it, like, he had Roman beat, Solo interfered after Solo was eliminated from ringside. Like, the ref had already told Solo, like, you're
Mm.
gone, and
They
he
tossed
came
him, yeah.
back in that stupid black hoodie, and he came back and he did his thing, and Roman beats him. And it's like, oh man, he got so close, right? And it was a lot like Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, like where he's like, dude, I almost had you, man. And
Yeah,
it was it was really good. It was really close to that. But what I
that's
really
funny.
enjoy is the fact that, like, now we have this added element of The Rock being a heel, because the other day I posted a video about The Rock. Like, do the fans really want to push this specific man into a heel
Loved it.
category? You know, because I appreciate that, because I genuinely feel like this man. The every time fans start cheering him, it's after a heel run. Like, when The Rock goes heel, he's not your typical heel. So that's why what we saw at the press conference to me was eerie, because that is not a version of a heel Rock we have ever seen. We have never seen him as the defender. We have never seen him as, like, the corporate like this level of a corporate character. Like if he's taking on that role where like I'm the head, like I'm the high chief, which is what it said at the bloodline thing. If you dissect it, if you blow it up and you dissect every name on there, it says he's the high chief. He was given that in 2004 by a member of the family. There's a tweet you can go back and refer to. The Rock has been considered the high chief of this family for a long time. And in Samoan culture, that means something. It may not mean something to you or I, but in their culture, that's outside of wrestling. Rock wasn't wrestling in '04, you know, so that's a big deal. Uh, I really enjoy this because if The Rock and Roman are a team, and I say this, and I don't think this is hyperbolic at all. This can be bigger than the power struggle with Triple H and Austin. This can be bigger than that.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
especially with the internet involved now, like the level of heat these guys would get, like Austin and Triple H, if they had done something like that now, yeah, it's probably the biggest heel faction of all time because people are super angry, they're pissed off, they're tag team champions, intercontinental champion, world heavyweight champion. It's like you guys are like Triple H is married to the boss's daughter, and Stone Cold Steve Austin's the biggest face. Like, what about the rest of the world, you know? But if The Rock and Roman wind up WWE champion, world heavyweight champion, and like tag champions, I mean, wow, we are looking at a different level of hate and heat that they would receive. And
Yeah, I don't
I
know if they're
asked,
gonna
what do
do
you
all
think?
that. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna do all that. Because they're pretty adamant about keeping the world heavyweight title on Raw. Um,
Hmm.
so that's, I mean, they think they would have to be on TV a lot more than I think we're expecting Rock and Roman to be.
Well,
Obviously,
it
they'll
has
be
been
around for
announced that
the.
they will both be there next Friday. Rock and Roman are both at SmackDown next week, so this is already more
Yeah,
Rock than we've ever
I,
seen.
I would expect them to be on TV for the run up to Mania.
Mhm.
Although Roman is not expected to be at Elimination Chamber, correct?
No, no.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to be really. Um,
Mhm.
but I just don't. Afterwards, I would expect them to be there for a couple weeks and then kind of go back to what they're doing. I mean, I think they just what they did was they took the Bloodline story was getting very, it was a little stale at this point, and I think they just
Mhm.
really injected some new blood, some freshness to it,
Mhm.
a whole other element. Uh, I thought it was spectacular, honestly. And so, if you're gonna have Cody lose, which I just cringe at the idea, but
Mhm.
if that's what you're gonna do, I think he needs to come out the next night and he's like, no, I'm not waiting tonight. We're gonna do this tonight. We're gonna do Hell in a Cell or whatever, or
Mhm.
Steel Cage or whatever, and make it a big deal because you know how many eyes are gonna be on the Raw after Mania. It's probably more than a lot of PLEs.
Yeah, but
And
no, go ahead.
I just think that's the honestly, aside from if it happens at Mania, I think that's the biggest platform they can do it on. Because yeah, I mean SummerSlam, whatever, but it just seems like a more uh, it seems more organic to me.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm excited for however they do it, but personally, I love the idea of Cody losing again because then it mirrors Dusty. The concern I have with it is, are they going to get backing from the fans that long? Because a lot of fans are tired of this level of waiting. That's my biggest concern is, will fans stay invested? Like I know yourself, it feels like you would not be this invested if Cody lost again.
Well, that's
Especially if
why
he lost. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm saying do it right after.
Yeah,
That way
I don't.
you don't have to keep people invested for another year.
Unless you pull a Rock and Cena and you come out and say like Cody challenges him to next year at WrestleMania, like immediately says like I've spoken with Adam Pierce, I've spoken with Nick Aldis, and I would like I'm issuing you a challenge to next year's WrestleMania. If you're the champion at that time, I want that title shot. And I think it kind of now you have an extra year with Roman as champ. And this is actually Patty's idea, which I love. So Roman has The Rock and the Bloodline betray him, almost like you're not worthy of being head of the table. And now we have a different Roman as champion. Now we have a Roman that defeats people on his own. He doesn't do it by schmaz. He slowly but surely works more because he doesn't have people doing his bidding. He doesn't have a mouthpiece like Paul Heyman anymore. He doesn't have people like the Usos. Now he's got to do everything himself. That takes all of this version of Roman Reigns that people hate away from him. So he's still the head of the table. He's still that version of the character. He's not the big dog, right? But he has to do it himself. He's got to rack up some wins where he can do everything, but ultimately he'll drop the title to Cody because Cody's just on another level. And I think that's a great idea because this is kind of what people want. Like Roman can't show up to SmackDown every week. He doesn't need to because he has Paul Heyman that goes and does it for him. But what if he doesn't
Right.
have Paul Heyman do it for him anymore? Now he needs to show up and talk.
So
You
in that
know,
scenario, would he turn face?
I'm guessing slowly but surely he would turn face, but I don't think that it would actually benefit him like in the way that like a normal face
Right.
turn would benefit him.
Right.
Now the one thing that I'm so curious with, which I would love to hear your opinion on, is I am not comfortable with the way Roman Reigns looked compared to The Rock at the press conference. Like everything about it to me felt he looked inferior to The Rock. Roman has built a legacy for 11, almost 12 years. And he, the past 4 years, has been the top guy in the business. And within seconds of The Rock being on stage, he looked like little brother. I mean, I didn't understand what I was watching in that. Like that was I had two gripes, three gripes of the whole thing. I wanted to dissect them all with you, um, but this was one of my biggest gripes about that segment.
Yeah. So I think um, if you look at how they've interacted in the past,
Hmm.
I think Roman has a lot of reverence for Rock, for Dwayne,
Hmm.
and I just think maybe someone needs to be like, "Look, you're the fucking tribal chief."
Yeah.
Sorry, mom. You need to act like it. You need to
Hmm.
act like you're the star. We get
Yes.
that he is who he is, and you probably look up to him. But on this screen, you two are equals.
Hmm. Agreed.
Because I think like
Yeah.
that can happen in families. Like there's people. Like I'm not intimidated by much, but there are people that I would probably defer to in my family if we were working together,
Yeah. I mean, I had the same thing. Like when
unless I was
I
told otherwise.
Yeah. I kind of had the same thing with my dad. Like I'm a pretty stand-up person and I present my own, I guess, I don't want to sound like a dick, but I present my own aura, I guess, without
I
sounding like
mean,
a dick. Like I am pretty much like I don't get lost
yeah,
in the shuffle. When I'm in a
right.
room, like people are like, "Okay, yeah, that's Lewis." Like he's there. And like, like Tyler, he has his own aura when he's in a room. We don't disappear. We just don't we're not those people that disappear in a
We're
room
over.
full. Yeah. But when I was around my dad, even like the first time I went to a bar with him, like it was almost like he led me there. And I just kind of like I was in like awe. I was like, "Oh man, watching my dad pick up girls or watching this happen, like this is like, whoa." I was genuinely like this is a man I look up to. and I get what you're saying about the Roman with that. It does, like, that was a father-son dynamic, like a real
Yeah.
father-son. This is not the same thing. Like, Roman has set his own path, and he just immediately looked like, I've been the tribal chief, but now the real tribal chief is home, and I've just been. It reminds me of
He's been cosplaying the tribal chief the whole time.
well, yeah, but it reminds me of the prince who was sitting in King Richard's chair while
Okay.
Robin of Locksley was at war with King Richard, right? Like, there was a prince that was taking over like the whole kingdom, and he was taxing people. And then once King Richard returned home, he had his rightful place at the throne. And it was almost like, are we watching a Robin Hood? Like, who's the Robin Hood in this? Cody? Is that what we're watching? Because that's
Probably.
kind
Yeah,
of what it felt like
probably.
to me. And
Makes a
sorry
lot
for
of
the
sense.
yeah, sorry for the Robin Hood stuff. I'm a big fan of Robin of Locksley. But
I had no idea what you were talking about, so it's cool.
okay. All right. Well, Robin Hood, robs from the richest and gives to the
Yeah,
poor.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's the story. Um, all right.
who's the best
So
Jedi?
who's the best Jedi? Oh, Ray
Yeah.
Skywalker.
Okay.
Screw those people. Um, so another thing that made me uncomfortable, I guess, has made me uncomfortable, and after watching SmackDown last night, is I don't think Triple H is a good baby face, and he's the baby face in
Never
all
has
this.
been.
This is
He,
so
ne- he never
odd.
has been. He never has been unless Sean's with him.
Well, when he came back and won the Rumble and he beat Jericho, he was a babyface after
Sort
injury.
of.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was still like that cocky, like, I'm the man, I'm the game. I am the
Right.
game.
He was a baby face for like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah,
lot of
I
that
don't
again was with Sean still.
yeah. I think I think I would like to see a promo battle between Triple H and The Rock because they're always great.
Yeah,
But
that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
yeah, I think that would be a really great thing to watch. I'm hoping we get there. The one thing I wanted Triple H to address yesterday, he did not address, which leads me to my second gripe. Over the past 2 weeks, I don't think that Roman and Tyler, I'm probably the biggest Roman fan I don't think that Roman, Rocky, WWE, and Seth Rollins has done anything or has done any favors to that World Heavyweight Championship. What was the purpose of Roman burying his title last week on SmackDown and then during the press conference?
Yeah, like especially I didn't see that part of the press conference, but especially last week on SmackDown, he just seemed like an asshole.
Yeah,
Pure,
and
like what
I
are you talking
love
about? He doesn't get your pops. They sang his song for 20 minutes.
yeah. I went to SmackDown at Hershey and the whole like it was I've been to I've been to Hershey, Pennsylvania every single time that they bring wrestling here. I have not missed a show since like we were in like single digit 2000s. And every single time there are certain chants that are done. There's always woo, there's yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. There's um Seth Rollins, oh, like, dude, they were singing that while we were waiting in line. You can't tell me he doesn't get a pop. And I love Roman. I love that. Like, he's this type of heel where he's going to try to berate and bash other people. But I genuinely now I will say Patty Regan from Working the Marks, he does have a theory, and that is that Seth is going to drop the strap at Mania, go off and do, get his knee right. And the reason
I
Roman
know.
is saying all of this is so he's gonna get when we have the other draft, he'll get drafted to SmackDown and feud with Roman. And we'll have a legit Roman Seth feud, not just a one-off pay-per-view match. And this sets it up. This is like long-term booking. And if that's the
I could
case, then
see that.
great. But right now, the only person that looks good in the world heavyweight title picture is Drew McIntyre. He's giving us the best work he's ever given in his career. He cut a promo that mirrored what CM Punk said after the press conference, almost like I would never let someone disrespect my title. And that's why we need a new champion, a new change of leadership. I mean, his promo the next day that he cut while walking his dog was just, this is the best version of Drew McIntyre I think we've ever seen. And
Absolutely.
I, I I think he's actually pulling a Rocky here. He's such a good heel at this time that it's making people want him to be world heavyweight champion. This is the first time that I legitimately feel like people are rooting for Drew over Seth. This isn't a Finn Balor, but we want him to win because he's never got the shot. This isn't Nakamura. We want him to win because Vince McMahon didn't give him the opportunity. Drew was champion for almost a year, a two-time champion during that whole span. We've seen Drew as champion, but what he's doing on the microphone, what he's doing with this character is he's garnering all of this love from people who like didn't see it. Like I remember arguing, I don't know if I told you this, but I remember arguing on the telephone about Cardiff with Patty and telling him that I felt like Drew should have beaten Roman. It was the one time where like I was playing the you with the Finn Balor thing with and Seth. I genuinely felt like I love Roman, but I felt like Drew, that was his moment. And
And I
Pat
agree with
just
you.
yeah, and Pat just told me he's like, it just wasn't his time, man. It just wasn't his time. You just have to give it time. And it took a long time for us to get here, or I guess it didn't. I guess it felt like a long time because it was really just a year and a half. But I I feel like this version of Drew is just, I can't imagine him losing another match to Seth Rollins. I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. He's going to go on to WrestleMania and he's going to beat Seth Rollins. What do you think?
Yeah, when I first heard that that's what they were going to do, I was like, really? We're going to do this again? He already beat him twice. But yeah, and I'm going to disagree a little bit because I think Seth has done great work in the last 2 weeks on the mic. But Drew has been, since Survivor Series,
Mm-hmm.
as good as anyone, I think, in this company at getting over what he's trying to get over. They're picking up what he's putting down. He's only a heel because his actions are so. He's got a lot of the '97 Bret Hart. Like a lot of his,
Yeah.
like a lot of the stuff he's saying is true,
Mm-hmm.
but his actions are so despicable
Mm-hmm.
that it's like with the Glasgow kiss to Seth on Monday night. Like, bro, what? And then he tags Punk the week before. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
prayed for you to get injured. Like
I
Punk's out there
love
talking.
that.
Punk's out there talking about his buddy with cancer or whatever, and Drew comes out and he's like, "I prayed for this, woo!"
Yeah.
It's like, and he humanized himself for a minute first with the, yeah, I can relate, blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just was like, "But woohoo!" Like it's just, yeah, he is chef's kiss, really, honestly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this version of it because, and I love that you brought up the 97 Brett stuff because a lot of people don't know this because a lot of people haven't taken the time to actually read wrestlers' books. But in Drew McIntyre's autobiography, he tells you that Bret Hart is his all-time favorite wrestler.
Mm.
That is the
I
reason why
haven't read it actually.
it's really good, but you and I have both, I don't want to speak for you, so I'll just say it for myself. Losing a parent is a struggle, and Drew's chapter about his mom is just,
Mm.
I recommend that people don't read it while working because having the
Yeah.
coworker ask you why you're crying
Why are you
is
crying?
yeah, why are you crying? But
I've
so
been
just
there.
do one of those things. But yeah, he talks about Bret Hart and what Bret Hart means to him, and being able to watch this. And I want to say this because I feel like it comes off wrong sometimes, and there are people that come off as haters. There is a Benoit Dynamite Kid aspect of a mark. Like, I'm going to do everything you did, and I'm going to add my little bit. Benoit, the way Benoit did it was he added the ruthlessness to that character. Dynamite wasn't that type of guy. He wasn't like, He didn't have ruthless aggression. He didn't, or toothless aggression, whatever the joke was. Brett was a Dynamite mark also, but he did it in his own way that if you didn't know Brett was a fan of Dynamite, you'd think he made up his entire offense. That's what I love about what we're watching in Drew. He's following the 97 program for Brett, which is probably a top 5 heel all time. That version of Brett was
It's my
phenomenal.
favorite.
Yeah. And but he's doing it in his own way. And it just looks great. And he's blurring the lines of like, I prayed for you to get injured. And then, just constantly attacking CM Punk on the mic, doing the same for Seth Rollins, doing it in such a way where it's just like, is he right? Like, is he right? I'm going to make a comic book reference here, so bear with me. There is a character called Jason Todd, and he's very popular to a lot of comic fans as the Red Hood. He's killed by the Joker, and when he comes back, he doesn't actually get killed, and he gets put in the Lazarus pit, and he comes back. He's Batman. He's essentially Batman, doing exactly what Batman's doing, but he's broken Batman's rule. He will kill to get justice. And he's an anti-hero. And that's kind of what Drew is turning into, an anti-hero. Drew is speaking for a lot of wrestling fans. Drew is speaking for a lot of wrestlers in the back. But he's doing it where it's like, dude, don't say that stuff. Like, you're going to get in trouble. But he's doing it in such a beautiful way that I just wish. So I guess sometimes we have to make it through the waves to get through to this part. And I'm just so happy for Drew because I feel like he deserves his moment. Even though I still wish that he would win and Damian would cash in on him, because I feel like a double turn at WrestleMania would be exactly what we wanted, or we would like. But either way, if Drew wins the title at WrestleMania, he gets everything that he's asked for. He gets his moment, in front of the live studio audience, or a live audience, I guess. And, he gets to do it on the biggest stage of them all. But, what?
Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, I'm sold too. Did you happen to watch the opening segment with Rhea and Becky?
No, so the only thing I've seen is the
The 22-minute segment with The Rock?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on our show, we made a prediction that Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley will main event Elimination Chamber. And I would like to say that our show predicted that correctly before anybody else. So for all you fans out there that love wrestling, me and Tyler made that prediction a long time ago, and that's what we're getting. Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax is the main event of Elimination Chamber in Perth. Unfortunately, it didn't happen the way we initially predicted it, which is that Nia would win the Rumble, but it's still, we got to this. They are main eventing this specific show. Becky Lynch has been inserted into the Elimination Chamber. Her and Rhea had a segment going barb for barb. And actually, this is one of those moments where I felt a lot like Roman and Rock all over again. I wonder if Rhea Ripley, as a person, reveres Becky, because every time she's in the ring cutting a promo with Becky Lynch, Becky comes out this like superstar, and Rhea always comes out someone who stumbles across her words. Like, for instance, Becky pretty much did the most of the talking. She leaves us with a line that people won't shut up about now, which is, you keep saying mommy's always on top. Well, at WrestleMania, the man's going to show mommy what it's like to be a bottom.
Shit.
And that is how the segment ended, with the Becky's music playing, and then the classic stare down with the title being held up of both of their faces.
Boy.
And yeah, I mean, Rhea looked baffled, but for this to work for me, and these are possibly two, including Tony and Bailey, these are possibly like my top 4 women in the business right now. 2 of the top 4 in the business. Bria's gonna have to do a lot more work on the mic. She's gonna have to be able, because if not, it's gonna very much mirror when Becky had to sell the triple threat main event, where she had to do 90% of the work. And I don't want that to
Right.
happen with Rhea. Like, I want Rhea to
Do
be
you,
able to be herself, but for some reason she doesn't shine when she's out there with Becky. Why do you think that is?
do you think it's possible though that this was designed for Becky to get the upper hand, to get in her head a little bit,
Mhm.
storyline wise, maybe?
I,
Because
I, I,
a line like that, I don't think she says it without clearing it with her.
yeah. Oh, I agree with you. They're definitely not going to allow lines like that. Yeah, you might be right. You might be 1,000% correct on that. But
But
going back to, go ahead, go ahead.
the other thing is, as far as well, just talkers in general, and certainly as far as the women's division go, Becky Lynch is all time on the mic.
Agreed.
Like, she's one of the best
Agreed.
talkers in the business, man, woman, child, whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, and so it's going to be hard for anyone to keep up with her, especially Rhea doesn't do a ton of talking.
Mm-mm. But everything she
It
says is impactful.
usually has an impact. Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
Um, because usually the Judgment Day segments usually go Damien
Damien does all the talking.
starts,
Hmm.
Finn says a few things, then they hand the mic to Dom and they boo so loud you can't hear him.
Hmm.
And then she says a few things, and then R-Truth comes out and pretends he's part of the Judgment Day, and which apparently the boys really like. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't see that ending
Uh,
anytime soon.
of course not. No, it's great. It's great TV. Uh, I agree. I agree with you on most of what you said there. But being like that, this is what we do, like this podcast. I have to say that Becky's been kind of torching Rhea on the mic for about a year now. Like,
Right.
when do we get the Rhea Ripley moment? Like, Becky's line about her being a main event side piece. That was strike one. Becky's promo after the Royal Rumble talking about, I need to get back to the title picture so I can get that title back into the main event. That's strike two. And then this promo, and the whole time, and I was looking, I Googled every Rhea and Becky segment that they've interacted. Rhea has never gotten the upper hand on her. And at first I thought, okay, they're recycling the Cody Roman promo like battles last year, where last year going into Mania, Cody won 1 week, Roman won the next week, Cody won 1 week, Roman won the next week, and that's what we were doing. But Becky's won everything. And I get
Right.
it. She's the goat on the mic, and I get it. Big fan of this woman. Love her. Have nothing negative to say about her. But in terms of this story, we need Rhea to be able to compete with her barb for barb. And it can't just be big, like where Rhea loses her mind and just beats down Becky. Like that,
So that's
that to
what I
me
was
is
just
lazy
gonna
booking.
say. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, what if Becky wins the Elimination Chamber, and then the next night on Raw, or 2 nights later, you see her and she's laying face down, and Rhea's just screaming, "Who's on the bottom now, bitch?"
Yeah, I
or
mean,
whatever.
that's great. That would be great. You know what I mean? Like, or something along the lines of like, she catches a beatdown from Rhea, and then Rhea just kind of like grabs the mic and says, "All that talking just got you put on your ass." You know what I mean? Like, like never disrespect mommy or something like that. Like that works, but I have seen Rhea be able to talk and be good at it, and I just wonder, like, is this going to be one of those things that shows the cracks? Because not only does this feud need to work, but I am under the impression that Rhea's going to beat Becky at Mania. I don't believe Becky's going to win the title. So, like, I think the Becky's just wrestling Rhea so that way Rhea could have a bigger spotlight. You know what I mean? Like, do you
Right.
believe that Becky's winning that match? Because I don't.
No, no. But I think maybe it makes sense to build her up a little bit. I mean, obviously she's a huge superstar anyway. But like you said, like like you said about all that talk just got you put on your ass or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She should say something like, you talk and you talk and you talk and you talk, but actions speak louder than words, and just leave
Yeah.
her laying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Triple H, you have a couple of great minds here. If you would like to give us a job, we can help. We can fix a lot of things.
Yeah, dude, I just
We
came up
can
with
help
that
you
in
out.
30 seconds. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like we're good here. Like,
give us a
as much
problem, we'll solve it.
exactly. You can start us small. Like, give us the Judgment Day segment. We can make it look, we can make it better. We can slowly turn our truth into Ron Killings. And we can make it work. You know,
Oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah, right? Like he
I
turns
kind of
into
like
Ron the
it.
Truth Killings. Yeah. Um well, we can't end a wrestling show without talking about we can't just end the wrestling show talking about one brand only. So we're going to switch over to AEW. And I
What a
have some
show.
what a show. We have some interesting takes on what just happened. Uh I am I would like to say
I
first and
don't,
foremost, congratulations to Sting on winning the World Tag Team titles with his partner Darby Allin, who Sting says that it's the greatest partner he's ever had. They
well,
beat
it's
my
true.
boys Big Cass or Big Bill and Ricky Starks. I loved how Ricky played the Shawn Michaels. He didn't want to spear Sting. I love that. I thought it was great. Like he turning into a baby face little by little.
Mm.
Maybe he'll actually get a run before he leaves and goes to the other company and gets utilized properly. But if he
Do you
gets a
think they would
legit
utilize
run,
him properly?
yup,
He's so little.
he doesn't look little in the ring against
He's
Sting, who's like 6'2".
but he's skinny.
I guess he looks bigger than Max, and Max
No, he
was their world
doesn't.
champion. Yeah, he
He's
does.
taller. He's taller. He doesn't look bigger.
Maybe not. I mean, I think he'll be utilized properly though over there.
I hope
Either
so.
way,
I mean,
he's just a
he's a
star that needs to be used right.
star. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved the whole segment. I loved the whole match. I thought the match was great. I thought all four people played really well. And I was really surprised that the internet feels like Big Bill came out the biggest winner of the match, that he looked the best. I thought that was really interesting because
Yeah, bro.
you
He's
know,
had a couple of
yeah. He's
he's had a
definitely a
couple of
tag wrestler.
showings.
Yeah. I don't
I've
know if
never
he's
been a
necessarily singles, but
Yeah, I've never been a fan of his, but like in the last few months, he's had a couple of matches. Like they had a TNT title match against, or an international title match against Mox, and I'm not really a fan of either one of those guys in the ring, but like I thought they killed it.
mhm.
And yeah, this match on Wednesday was phenomenal.
Agreed. It was awesome.
I
I
mean,
love
it wasn't as good as Swerve and Hangman, but I
Of
mean, come
course
on,
not. That
what
was
could
great.
be?
Love
Yeah.
the ending of the match. Love that we've unofficially gotten told that it's a triple threat match for Revolution, for the world title. So I'm excited about that as well. I do believe, and I think a lot of people are going to be upset by this, but I have come to the collective thought that Samoa Joe's title run was never meant to be a lengthy title run. This
Do
title
you
run
think you
was
think Swerve's winning it?
specifically, yes, I think it was specifically designed to get the title on Swerve, which
I
sucks
hope they
for a
give
guy like Samoa Joe, but I think it works for a guy like Swerve.
I hope they give him a couple defenses in the meantime, just to let him have a couple of wins as
Agreed.
champion. Then,
But I
yeah,
think Swerve being like the people like the guy that people tune in the most on, he's got the highest rated segments on the show.
hmm
I mean,
he's
fans are
amazing.
enthralled. Yeah, he's so good. And him and Hangman, this cannot be the end of their feud. I immediately believe that they should, and I know this sounds really dumb. This will probably be my second mention of this character on the show. I would not be annoyed. I would not be upset one bit if Swerve wins the title and we get a best of 7 series between Swerve and Hangman for the world title. Like, give me all of it.
That's great. That is great because you know what that does. It can give Hangman a couple wins against him, but still Swerve keeps the title.
Exactly.
That's that way he doesn't just beat him every time.
Yes, I love that. And I don't know how we would do it, if it's going to be they're the champions and they're, or, however it works, and they
Well,
could
they
do
did
it
the
like,
same thing. They did the same thing with the trios titles with the Elite and Death Triangle.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we could do it. It could work out really well.
Death Triangle were the champs, and then but they
Mhm.
had a best of 7, and I think the Elite won it. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Um, what do you think about Tony Storm's character blurring the lines by using a lot of the fat shaming that has been done to Deonna Purrazzo in her promos? What's your thoughts about them utilizing the troll fans in actual programming on television? How do you feel about
If
that?
if Deanna's cool with it, then fine. We might as well take a negative and use it as something to. I can't say a positive because it's still not positive, but
Mhm.
we might as well take it and use it as fuel.
Yeah,
If she's cool with it, if it bothers her, then it should never be mentioned.
agreed. I feel the same way. As long as Deanna's happy with the way the story is progressing, I love it. Uh, I love the fact that they've taken. It's kind of like Bunny Rabbit not allowing Clarence to rap against him at the end and utilizing everything he was going to say against him. That's what this feels like.
I
It's
referenced
like,
that yesterday.
yeah, I mean, it feels genuinely, it feels like, okay, you want to make fun of Diano because her body's not what you believe her body should be like? I mean, let's just be very clear. Deonna Purrazzo might be one of the most gorgeous women
I
walking
was
the
just
planet.
gonna say that woman is gorgeous. Like I
I
don't understand.
the trolls on the internet, I feel like sometimes want to
And
hit
Disco
like
Inferno.
these, yeah, like they just want to just hit these
Wait, you said
gotcha
trolls on the internet?
moments.
My bad.
Yeah. And it's so weird. Like, listen, go eat your chicken nuggets, and shove them up your ass, and you like go outside and play. Like, there's
Should
no
they turn
need.
them sideways first?
Yeah, turn them sideways. Like, you heard what The Rock said about the Cody
Shine 'em
Crybabies.
up real nice.
Yeah, like, guys, let's be honest here. What is the purpose of jumping on the internet and pointing out something negative about a wrestler like that? It's so stupid. But getting
About their
back to the actual,
appearance.
yeah, about
Yes.
their appearance, it's so stupid. Um, I mean, there. Getting back to this, I love this because Tony Storm's character is an old. It's supposed to be a throwback. It's supposed to be an old school character. It's supposed to be like she would, if this was a character back in Wendy Richter days, she would point something like that out. And I
Hmm.
love it. I love the fact that this is what we're getting. I love the fact that she's kind of like pushing away Mariah May without noticing, like, oh, if you've seen one woman's match, you've seen them all. Like, she's not only knocking Deonna Purrazzo, but she's also making fun of the trolls on the internet for what they say about women's wrestling. And I'm just like, man, I'm here for it. This is a version of a
Hmm.
heel that we need. Like, let's give her the fuel, give her the stuff. Like, and whatever comments people say on the internet, she's utilizing them on television. So you're providing her with free writing and she's making bank off of it.
Right.
So, like, I feel like this is the best way to do it. I mean, when you have a bully as a kid, you take that bully's thing to pick at you away, they can't be your bully anymore. I mean, for us, it's like
Yeah.
punch that guy in the mouth, but that's what she's doing. She's punching these internet trolls in the mouth right now.
I had a guy call me fat yesterday, and I was like, "Bro, come up with something else."
Yeah.
And then he said hippo, and I was like, "That's the same thing." I was like, "It's like 8 Mile. Pay attention. You're saying the same shit that he said."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. People are so unoriginal, they're just so uninspired,
Like,
and it feels genuinely like they are, it's like lazy, like it's laziness is what it is.
yeah,
That's all it is. Complete laziness.
make it hurt. Call me out for my daddy issues. Like, come on, do something.
Yeah, you could, there's so many things you could do. That's something new though. I didn't know you had daddy issues. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's something new. But I don't know. I feel like people just want to be lazy. They don't want to be original anymore, and that's why I'm loving this version. I love it. I love also how, you know I believe that The Rock's new character will utilize a lot of the board. Like, I think it's going to be a power struggle, and I think they're going to do it because the fans are calling him out for it on the internet, and I think it's going to become a storyline. So I'm excited about that as well. Tyler, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about before we sign off here?
Yeah, I do want to say, because we've been, or you at least for sure, have been real critical of AEW, and I've been a defender. I do want to call them out. I think they've had a really good month as far as the Dynamites have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to give them props for that. The Tony's stayed off the Twitter, and but I do have to call him out for his big announcement being that we're going to run a regular show and give it a name.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, that's bro. Come on. But I've really enjoyed the product. I think they have stepped it up in the last month or so, and WWE has stepped it up equally. I think wrestling in the last month has been phenomenal. Oh no, we cannot go off the air without berating TNA a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
What the hell are you thinking? Getting rid of the man who is one of the only reasons that you exist at this point in Scott D'Amore. What are you thinking? I understand you want to grow your brand and you think this guy's going to help doing that. But there are positions you could have given him to help do that without getting rid of one of the smartest guys in the business. If Tony Khan hasn't hired that man already, then I don't know who's advising him. Because it's a travesty.
It is sad, especially knowing the fact that TNA is the flavor of the month right now. Like, yes, we are moving into WrestleMania season, so WWE is going to be everywhere, anywhere and everywhere. But TNA has been the flavor of the month with their whole repackaging and the wrestlers.
I was watching the product. I was prepared to support them until they did this.
It is one of those strange things where you wonder there's got to be something in play that we don't know about. And
the what's in play, from what I understand, is that he wanted them to spend more money, and Anthem just wants to produce content as cheaply as possible, and so they decided that they just need to get rid of him.
I wonder what this speaks to, and if their success that they have right now, if it comes to a screeching halt already, if they've already put themselves in a bad spot. But as wrestlers from the past from that company have said, TNA is going to TNA. So let's hope that they finally get traction. People are excited. They get Okada to come in and do some stuff, and people are losing their minds. You have TNA on WWE television with Jordan Grace, and people are just looking at that. Like, that Royal Rumble appearance alone made people tune into their product.
Right.
You know,
it's like they said, my foot doesn't hurt. Grabbed a gun and just shot it.
Exactly. It's very strange. Very, very interesting thing here. Definitely something we'll pay attention to. We'll touch on more next Saturday. But thank you so much for tuning in with us, guys. We will try to update the new digs, but really it was just about just paying attention to these faces because, you know, when you got two Papi Chulos here on the show, we want you to pay attention to us as well. Like, that's it. So thank you so much, guys, for following us to our new journey. We are still on the same YouTube channel. So this is our YouTube channel with our 345 subscribers. Thank you so much for all of it. We're just going to update the digs a little bit. Maybe get some new music, maybe get some new backgrounds, but we are excited for the future. And we're possibly going to have a guest host with us next week. Maybe Patty Reekin will jump over onto the show, so that'll be nice for us to talk with him.
Love it.
Yeah, yep. All right, guys. Well, for Tyler and Macho, we are out.
Out.